Welcome to Elevate and Thrive, where your mindset evolves. One day you keep saying it. One day I'll start. One day I'll change. One day I'll get serious. One day I'll become the person I know I could be. But let me ask you something. How many one days have already passed? How many mornings have you woken up with the same dreams, the same goals, the same hunger inside your chest, and still went back to the same habits? Because the truth is, one day is the most dangerous phrase in the world. One day is a trap. It sounds hopeful, but it's a lie. It's procrastination wearing a mask of patience. And every time you say one day, what you're really doing is pushing your life further away. You don't need one day, you need day one. One day is the most dangerous phrase you will ever say to yourself because it sounds like hope, but it is really a delay. It feels harmless, even comforting, like you are still connected to your dreams, like you haven't given up. But the truth is, one day is not a plan. It is a hiding place. It is procrastination dressed up as patience. It is the excuse that keeps millions of people trapped in the same life year after year, not because they are incapable, but because they keep postponing the moment that matters most, the moment they begin. One day I'll start. One day I'll get in shape. One day I'll chase my dream. One day I'll change my life. But how many one days have already passed? How many mornings have you woken up with the same desire in your heart, the same vision in your mind, and still chosen the familiar comfort of staying the same? Because that is what one day does. It keeps your dreams alive enough to avoid guilt, but distant enough to avoid discomfort. It gives you permission to stay exactly where you are while pretending you are on the way somewhere better. The problem with one day is that it never comes. Life does not suddenly open up a perfect moment. The timing will never be flawless. The fear will never disappear completely. The road will never feel easy at the beginning. One day is a fantasy future where everything is convenient, where motivation is endless, where discipline is effortless. But real change does not happen in fantasy. Real change happens in the hard, ordinary, uncomfortable now. Most people do not fail because they lack talent. They fail because they keep delaying the start. They wait for confidence before taking action, not realizing confidence is built through action. They wait for clarity before moving, not realizing clarity comes from movement. They wait to feel ready, not realizing ready is not a feeling, it is a decision. And every time they say one day, they surrender another piece of their potential. One day is dangerous because it steals time quietly. Not in dramatic ways, not with alarms and warnings, but slowly, softly, almost invisibly. Days become weeks, weeks become months, months become years, and suddenly you look back and wonder where your life went. You wonder why you feel stuck. You wonder why nothing has changed. And the answer is painful because it is simple. You kept choosing later instead of now. The cost of one day is not just lost progress. The cost is regret. Regret is heavy. Regret follows you into the quiet moments. Regret whispers at night when the world is silent. Regret reminds you of the version of yourself you could have become. It reminds you of the chances you avoided, the risks you never took, the discipline you never practiced. Failure hurts, yes, but at least failure means you tried. Doing nothing creates a deeper wound because it leaves you wondering forever what might have happened if you had started. One day is the enemy of greatness because greatness demands urgency. Greatness demands courage. Greatness demands that you begin before you feel prepared. The people who build extraordinary lives are not the people who always feel motivated. They are the people who refuse to wait. They act with fear in their chest. They act with doubt in their minds. They act with uncertainty in their hands because they understand that the beginning is always messy, always uncomfortable, always imperfect, but it is still the only way forward. The truth is, your life is being shaped right now, not someday. Every day you delay, you are still making a decision. Not deciding is still deciding. Choosing comfort is still choosing. Choosing excuses is still choosing. One day is not neutral. It is a choice to remain the same. And if you keep repeating it, your future will be nothing more than a copy of your past. You do not need more time. You need more courage. You need more honesty. You need to stop lying to yourself with the soft words of whole one day and face the hard truth that your moment is now. The future you dream about is not waiting for you in tomorrow. It is waiting for you in the decision you make today. One day keeps you stuck. Day one sets you free. Success is not about talent or luck, no matter how badly people want to believe it is. The world loves stories that make success look like something magical, something reserved for the gifted, something handed down by fate. People look at someone who has built an incredible life and assume they were born different, born special, born with something others don't have. But the truth is much simpler, much more uncomfortable, and much more empowering. Success begins with a decision, not a feeling, not a miracle, a decision. Most people are not stuck because they lack ability. They are stuck because they have never fully decided. They live in the space of wanting without committing, dreaming without acting, hoping without moving. They keep one foot in the future and one foot in their comfort zone, and they wonder why they never go anywhere. They say they want change, but they don't choose it. They say they want success, but they don't decide to become the person success requires. Luck is random, talent is uneven, but decision is available to everyone. Decision is the great equalizer. The moment you decide, you stop being a passenger in your own life and you become the driver. You stop waiting for circumstances to improve and you start creating improvement. You stop asking for permission and you start taking ownership. That is where success begins. Not when everything feels perfect, but when you choose to move anyway. The truth is, motivation is unreliable. Feelings come and go. Some days you wake up inspired, and some days you wake up tired, overwhelmed, and doubtful. If you build your future on motivation, your future will collapse the moment motivation disappears. But when you build your future on decision, you create something stronger than emotion. Decision is discipline in its earliest form. Decision is the line in the sand that says, no matter how I feel, I will move forward. Talent without decision is wasted potential. There are people with incredible gifts who never do anything meaningful with them because they never decide to show up consistently. They never decide to endure the discomfort of growth. They never decide to be uncomfortable long enough to become great. Meanwhile, there are people with average talent who build extraordinary lives because they decided they would not quit. They decided they would not stay small. They decided that excuses were no longer an option. Success does not belong to the most gifted. It belongs to the most committed. The people who win are not the ones who never struggle. They are the ones who decided that struggle would not stop them. They decided that failure would not define them. They decided that rejection would not break them. They decided to keep going when it was hard, when it was lonely, when no one was watching, when no one was clapping, when progress was slow. A decision changes the way you see everything. When you decide, obstacles become challenges instead of stop signs. When you decide, discomfort becomes part of the process instead of a reason to quit. When you decide, time stops being something you waste and becomes something you invest. Decision creates clarity. It gives your actions direction. It turns your dreams from vague wishes into real goals with real weight behind them. Most people spend their lives negotiating with themselves. They wake up and bargain. Maybe tomorrow, maybe next week, maybe when I feel ready, maybe when life calms down, but life never calms down. There will always be another excuse, another distraction, another reason to delay. Success comes when you stop negotiating and you decide. When you say, this is it, this is the moment, this is day one. The decision to start is powerful because it breaks the cycle. It breaks the pattern of waiting. It breaks the habit of postponing. It breaks the identity of being someone who dreams but never does. The decision is the first step toward becoming a new version of yourself. Not someday, but now. You do not need perfect conditions. You need a firm choice. You do not need luck to show up. You need courage to begin. The future is not built by people who were chosen. It is built by people who chose. People who chose discipline over comfort. People who chose action over fear. People who chose progress over excuses. Success starts the moment you stop waiting for it to happen to you and you decide to make it happen through you. Day one is uncomfortable, messy, and hard, and that is exactly why it is so powerful. Most people romanticize change. They imagine transformation as something clean and dramatic, like a perfect movie moment where everything suddenly clicks and life becomes easy. But real change does not begin with perfection. It begins with discomfort. It begins with struggle. It begins with the awkward, uncertain first step that feels too small to matter, but matters more than anything. Day one is the moment you stop living in theory and start living in reality. It is the moment you stop talking about what you want and start doing something about it. And that moment is never comfortable. Day one does not feel like victory. Day one feels like fear. Day one feels like stepping into the unknown without any guarantee that it will work. That is why most people avoid it. They would rather stay in the familiar pain of the life they know than face the unfamiliar discomfort of the life they could build. Day one is messy because beginnings always are. You will not be great at first. You will not feel confident at first. You will not have everything figured out. You will make mistakes. You will stumble. You will feel awkward. And your mind will try to use that as proof that you are not ready, that you are not capable, that you should wait. But the truth is, no one starts ready. Readiness is built, not found. The mess is not a sign you are failing. The mess is a sign you have finally started. Day one is hard because it forces you to confront yourself. It forces you to face the gap between who you are and who you want to become. It forces you to admit that the only thing standing between you and your future is the work you have been avoiding. That is painful. It is easier to dream than to do. It is easier to imagine than to execute. It is easier to plan than to begin. Day one removes all the hiding places. It demands action. And that is why day one is where transformation begins. because transformation is not a sudden leap, it is a process. It is built through repetition, it is built through small steps taken consistently. Day 1 is the foundation. Without it, there is no day 2, no day 10, no day 100. Every great journey begins with the first uncomfortable step forward. Most people wait for the beginning to feel easy. They wait for the fear to disappear. They wait for motivation to be overflowing. They wait for perfect timing. But day 1 does not arrive when fear is gone. Day 1 arrives when you move despite fear. Courage is not the absence of fear. Courage is action in the presence of fear. Day 1 is proof that you are willing to be uncomfortable for something greater. The reason day 1 feels so difficult is because it requires you to break the cycle. It requires you to step out of old habits, old excuses, old comfort zones. Comfort zones are seductive because they feel safe, but they are also prisons. They keep you trapped in the same patterns. Day 1 is the key that unlocks the door, but walking out is scary because you have lived inside that comfort for so long. Day 1 is also lonely sometimes. People will not always understand your change. Some will doubt you, some will ignore you, some will even mock you. Because when you start improving, you remind others of what they are avoiding. But day 1 is not about their approval, it is about your future. It is about becoming the person you promised yourself you would be. The beauty of day 1 is that it does not require you to be perfect. It only requires you to begin. It does not demand that you have the whole roadmap. It only demands the first step. And that step, as small as it seems, is the most important one you will ever take. Because once you start, you create momentum. Once you start, you prove to yourself that change is possible. Once you start, you stop being someone who only dreams and become someone who acts. Day 1 is uncomfortable, messy, and hard, but it is also sacred. It is the birthplace of every transformation. It is where excuses die and possibility is born. Confidence and strength are not born, they are forged through action. Most people live waiting for confidence to arrive, imagining that one day they will wake up feeling ready, feeling capable, feeling like they can finally handle the challenges that have been holding them back. But confidence is not a gift the world gives you. It is not a feeling that comes knocking on your door when circumstances are perfect. Confidence is created, earned, and built only when you decide to act despite fear, doubt, and uncertainty. Strength does not appear overnight. Strength grows quietly, hidden behind repeated effort, small victories, and the resilience developed through facing hardship. Every time you take action when you do not feel ready, you are building confidence. Every time you confront a fear instead of running from it, you are adding strength to your character. Every time you push yourself to do the work that feels uncomfortable or challenging, you prove to yourself that you are capable. Confidence is not something you chase, it is something you collect piece by piece through consistent action. Strength is not something you wish for, it is something you earn through persistence and courage. People who seem naturally confident did not wait for motivation or luck to arrive. They started before they felt ready and kept going long enough to transform themselves. Most people make the mistake of believing that confidence comes first and then action follows. They wait until they feel ready before starting a project, making a call, pursuing a goal, or stepping into a new role. They imagine that strength will arrive after preparation, training, or experience, but this is backward. The truth is, confidence is a byproduct of action. Strength emerges from the process, not the preparation. You cannot wait for it, you must build it as you go. Every small step you take against resistance strengthens your ability to handle the next challenge. Every challenge you overcome adds to the foundation of your confidence. Strength and confidence are cumulative. One courageous act does not make you fearless, but repeated acts create a mindset that cannot be shaken easily. One decision to start when you did not feel like it does not instantly transform you, but a lifetime of such decisions molds a person who is unstoppable. Strength grows in the struggle, not in the comfort. Confidence grows in practice, not in idle dreaming. The world may celebrate visible success, but the invisible work, the repeated choices, the daily discipline, the quiet commitment, is what builds a foundation no external force can shake. Failure, discomfort, and setbacks are the raw material for confidence. When you face a difficult challenge and you fail and you try again, you are stronger. When you step into a room full of uncertainty, when you speak up despite fear, when you take responsibility for things that feel too big, you are gaining confidence. Every time you rise after falling, every time you keep going when it feels impossible, every time you choose action over comfort, your inner strength grows. That is why the people who seem fearless are not fearless. They have failed, stumbled, and repeated the process enough times that fear no longer controls their decisions. Confidence and strength are inseparable from courage. Courage is the engine that propels action. It is not the absence of doubt, but the ability to act in its presence. True confidence is built on a history of courageous acts, no matter how small. Strength is demonstrated not in effortless moments, but in moments of resistance, where the easier option is to quit, hide, or postpone. Each time you act despite fear, you are reshaping your identity. You are becoming someone who can be trusted to show up, to endure, and to persevere. That is the essence of real power. People who rely on talent, luck, or external validation will always be limited. They will only perform when conditions are perfect. Those who build confidence and strength through action perform regardless of conditions. They do not wait for inspiration. They do not seek approval. They do not avoid discomfort. They understand that confidence is a skill, and strength is a skill, and both require practice, repetition, and commitment. Day after day, decision after decision, effort after effort, they grow stronger, bolder, and more capable. Action is their teacher, and every challenge is a lesson. If you want to be confident, you must act. If you want to be strong, you must endure. You cannot think your way into either. You cannot hope for them. You cannot wait for circumstances to align. They are built in the process of doing, in the consistent choice to face what is uncomfortable, to take responsibility, to step into fear, and to keep moving forward. Confidence and strength are yours only when you claim them through action. They exist not in dreams or plans, but in the reality of persistent effort, and that is the only way forward. Comfort and doing nothing create deeper pain than failure ever will. Most people spend their lives chasing comfort, avoiding discomfort, and convincing themselves that waiting is safe. They wait for the perfect moment, the perfect feeling, the perfect alignment of circumstances. They postpone action because it is easier to stay where they are than to face the uncertainty of change. Comfort is seductive because it feels safe, but it is a trap. It lulls you into passivity, and it slowly steals your potential. It allows you to live without risk, but it also ensures you will never know what you could have become. Failure hurts, yes, but doing nothing leaves a wound that never heals. It leaves a hollow space inside you where potential once lived, a space filled with regret, self-doubt, and the constant whisper of what if. Every choice to stay comfortable is a choice to delay your life. Every moment spent avoiding action is a moment stolen from your future self. People fear failure, but they do not fear comfort, and that is where the real danger lies. Failure is temporary, it teaches, it corrects, it sharpens. Comfort is permanent in its damage. It convinces you that stagnation is safe, that waiting is wise, that doing nothing is acceptable. Over time, the accumulation of small, safe decisions builds a life of mediocrity, one that feels predictable, unremarkable, and deeply unsatisfying. That is the true pain. Living a life that could have been extraordinary but never was. Comfort keeps you from building discipline. Discipline requires consistent effort, discomfort, and resistance. It asks you to do the hard things repeatedly, even when you do not feel like it. The moment you choose comfort over discipline, you choose delay. You choose a life that does not challenge you, a life that does not stretch you, a life that does not transform you. Every athlete, every entrepreneur, every great person who achieved something meaningful endured discomfort repeatedly. They learned to embrace it, to see it as the path to growth rather than something to avoid. Comfort, on the other hand, whispers, wait, rest, you'll do it tomorrow, and tomorrow never comes unless you act today. Most people overestimate their future ability to handle challenges and underestimate the cost of comfort. They imagine they will wake up ready, motivated, and capable, but the truth is readiness is built by acting, not by waiting. The longer you stay in comfort, the more your confidence erodes, the more your skills stagnate, and the less capable you feel. Doing nothing breeds doubt and weakness, while failure breeds strength and clarity. The paradox is simple pain is temporary, discomfort is fleeting, but comfort creates a life of silent regret that echoes forever. Regret is heavier than failure. Failure can teach, inspire, and push you forward. Comfort leaves you untested, unproven, and unfulfilled. Those who spend decades avoiding discomfort often look back and wonder why they feel empty despite having a seemingly safe life. They measure success by stability, but the real success comes from struggle, risk, and action. A life without struggle is a life without proof that you are capable of more. Comfort is not harmless. It is a silent thief, stealing your time, your growth, and your potential, replacing it with a quiet, persistent ache that never fades. The choice is clear: temporary discomfort or permanent regret. Every difficult decision, every moment you push yourself when you do not feel like it, every risk you take builds a life that is extraordinary. Comfort may feel easy today, but discipline may feel hard now, but it frees you in ways comfort never can. Doing nothing seems safe, but it is the deadliest choice you will ever make. It is the slow erosion of ambition, the quiet extinguishing of dreams, and the unnoticed accumulation of lost potential. Comfort keeps you from action, but action keeps you alive. Action creates momentum. Action builds resilience. Action proves to yourself that you are capable of more than you imagined. Those who embrace discomfort grow stronger with each step. Those who seek only comfort shrink, weaken, and fade into a life of quiet mediocrity. Comfort is appealing because it promises peace, but the real peace comes from knowing you tried, that you risked, that you acted even when it was hard. That peace cannot be bought. It must be earned in moments of struggle. The truth is simple: you will fail, you will stumble, you will encounter pain. But that is not the end. The end is avoiding it, hiding from it, letting it pass you by. The cost of comfort is the loss of everything you could have been. The reward of discomfort is the discovery of your true strength, the realization of your potential, and the creation of a life that matters. Comfort is temporary, failure is temporary, but regret lasts forever. Choose discomfort, choose action, choose growth, because doing nothing is the heaviest burden you will ever carry. Your future is created by small, consistent choices, not by dramatic moments or sudden breakthroughs. Most people wait for the perfect opportunity, the perfect feeling, the perfect timing, imagining that life will somehow hand them their dreams if they just remain patient. But life does not operate that way. The big moments you see in movies, the overnight transformations people post about online, those are the result of countless small, invisible decisions stacked day after day, week after week, year after year. Your future is not waiting for you to discover it. It is being written right now by every choice you make, every action you take, and every habit you repeat. It is easy to underestimate the power of small choices because they feel insignificant in the moment. You wake up and decide to stay in bed a little longer. You decide to scroll through your phone instead of writing, exercising, or learning. You decide to skip that hard conversation, that tough workout, that extra hour of focus. Each of these decisions feels trivial, but their cumulative effect is enormous. A life of inaction is the sum of thousands of these small, trivial choices, and before you know it, the years have passed, and your future self is looking back, wondering why nothing changed. The truth is, discipline, growth, and transformation are not born from big, flashy events. They are born from repeated, deliberate actions. They are born from the decision to act when it is uncomfortable, from the choice to do what most people avoid, from the commitment to push forward when it would be easier to quit. Every small choice you make to improve yourself, to take one more step toward your goals, to endure one more moment of discomfort, is like a brick in the foundation of the future you dream of. The person you want to become is built silently, quietly, one decision at a time, not by grand gestures or lucky breaks. Consistency is the secret. Most people fail because they overestimate the impact of dramatic efforts and underestimate the power of simple, consistent steps. One massive effort that is not repeated leads nowhere. One small, repeated choice leads to transformation. Writing 10 lines in a journal today, exercising for 20 minutes, reading a single chapter, or taking a small action toward a goal may seem inconsequential now, but repeated over weeks and months, these choices compound. They accumulate into momentum. Momentum leads to confidence. Confidence leads to bigger actions. Bigger actions lead to results. Results lead to the future you will eventually recognize as your own. The small decisions are also where character is built. Each choice, no matter how minor it seems, reflects who you are and what you value. When you choose integrity in small matters, honesty when it is inconvenient, or effort when it is tiring, you are shaping the person who will handle bigger challenges later. When you choose laziness or shortcuts repeatedly, you are shaping a future of compromise, mediocrity, and unfulfilled potential. Your life is the sum of these decisions, and it does not wait for your permission or your readiness. Every moment is an opportunity to decide, and your future is watching, waiting for you to make choices that align with your dreams. Time is relentless, and it does not distinguish between the choices you make or fail to make. Days pass regardless of your action or inaction. Weeks become months, months become years, and the habits you choose now compound into a life that either fulfills or disappoints. Most people blame circumstances, luck, or other people for where they are, but the truth is hidden in their choices. It is the repeated, consistent decisions, no matter how small, that determine whether a life is ordinary or extraordinary. Your future self depends on this truth more than anything else. What you do today matters far more than what you plan to do tomorrow. Taking control means recognizing that big change starts with small decisions. It is not enough to hope, dream, or visualize. Action is required. The small choices you make every day, getting up when you want to sleep, working when you want to rest, learning when you want to scroll, pushing yourself when you want comfort, these are the decisions that shape your destiny. Every single moment is a chance to choose differently, to steer your life toward the person you want to become, to inch closer to the future you imagine. This is how ordinary people build extraordinary lives, by consistently choosing what matters over what feels easy, and by understanding that your future self is counting on every choice you make today. Your future is not in some distant, magical day. It is built in the repetition of small, deliberate choices. It is built in the consistent refusal to settle for less. It is built in the action you take when no one is watching, when motivation fades, when excuses try to convince you to wait. Every choice matters. Every decision counts. Every small step today is a brick in the foundation of the life you will live tomorrow. Nothing is neutral. Everything shapes you. And if you want a future that is remarkable, the only way to get there is to start now. One choice at a time, consistently, relentlessly, without waiting, without hesitation, without delay. Elevate your thinking. Thrive in your life.